podcast.
Here we go. Hello, hello. Around the block and around the world. This is where we discuss, debate, and deliberate all things diabetes. Representing type 2, my name is Dobie Maxwell. Representing type 1, as always, she's vivacious, effervescent, always in the know. It's Sami Parker.
Friendly reminder that Dobie and I, as well as Krista, our special guest on this week's episode, will be attending the American Diabetes Association Step Out in LA this September on the 17th.
As you know, I've been walking and talking, and we are super excited to meet some of you at the Step Out, where we'll be performing a live episode of Just My Type for the first time with some special guest involvement, as well as some super exciting surprises.
You can check out our JMT show notes for the link to register and donate, or you can search American Diabetes Association Step Out in Southern California.
Can't wait to see you all there. You know what they say, get your feet in the street to beat the heat. Sami, I have to tell you, not only is working with you fun, or meeting all our guests fun, talking about diabetes fun, I, as a man, get to work with beautiful women left and right. You and Elizabeth, no exception. Everyone on our team is. And today we have not only a great guest, a beautiful lady, and she's going to enlighten us about what it's like to be a celebrity, among other things.
All right, Miss Krista. We have Krista Ferguson with us, and I'm so excited. I don't really know how I don't know. I think I was on Instagram, and I really just like the diabetes community is always like interacting and whatnot. And then I found you, and I was like, oh my gosh, I need her on the podcast. She seems like very confident, beautiful lady who has a lot to say, words of wisdom. And I think it is awesome that you're Miss Michigan. And I want to hear kind of about that too, and just how that's been with being a role model. So yeah, first off, thank you for coming on.
I'm happy to be here.
If you could maybe kind of talk about your diagnosis story, that would be great, just to give everybody a little bit of background.
Absolutely. So hi, everyone. I'm Krista Ferguson. I was Miss Michigan USA 2017. So I'm a has-been. I'm a former. It's been a little bit. Almost 5 years.
Oh, yeah. How can you talk to
It's
people?
kind of, it's kind of crazy. Every time we crown a new girl, I'm like, wow, that's just another year off my life, So not to be morbid. But I've been diagnosed as a type 1 diabetic since I was 22 years old. So I'm going on my 8th anniversary. So, it still feels kind of new to me. It feels like yesterday was when I found out I had it. I was probably undiagnosed for quite a while. I was actually living in New York at the time. I was assigned model out there, living alone in, a box. Literally, if you've ever been to New York, you know how the studio apartments are there. So I was living in a box.
Sure do.
Yeah, up at 135th and 2nd Street. And symptoms of type 1 diabetes are not like a cough or sneeze and, oh, I'm sneezing, I got to go to the doctor. It's more really groggy and tired and thirsty and hungry and, not your normal symptoms that you would go to the doctor for. So I had a lot of these symptoms when I lived in New York City. But, I'm walking a lot. I used to drive a car every day in Michigan. That's where I was born and raised, in Detroit, Michigan. And I was walking around a lot. I was always hungry. I could eat a whole bowl of Chipotle and 10 minutes later, I'd be starving. Didn't really understand it, but, drinking a lot of water. I was always thirsty, always thirsty. I would just constantly have a water bottle, just going through 16 a day. But I'm walking a lot. I'm exercising. I'm modeling in New York City. I'm losing a ton of weight. This is great for the agency, right? No, it's not. It was extremely unhealthy because it was, an undiagnosis of something very serious. So it was actually kind of a little bit of a blessing in disguise. I ended up moving home for some personal reasons. And then beginning of 2015, I've been home for a couple months. I went out with my friends and had, some wine and charcuterie and just had a fun girls' night. And I ended up in the hospital that night with 350 sugar level, which is, our listeners know, but if you're new, 80 to 120 is the normal range. So, 350 was really skyrocket. And that's how I got diagnosed. It was a shock. I didn't realize, how am I 22 and I have diabetes? What do you mean? I work out, I eat healthy. What am I doing wrong? And for, people who don't know, that's what a lot of people think is like, oh, you're so healthy. And, it's an autoimmune disease. It's not something I could have done any differently to not get it. So that's kind of where my journey began.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense because I'm 22 right now and I got it when I was 12. So I'm going on 10 years and it's wild because at that age, I almost don't remember now what it was like to just like grab something, and like not even think about it. But yet it does seem like yesterday that it was like the diagnosis day of like, oh, like you might have to only eat protein and veggies today. And I was like, why? And they're like, because you need to wait till you can get into the doctor on Monday. Like it just doesn't ever escape. And especially like at my age right now, I can't even imagine, because I feel like I'm so set in my ways. And I feel like for me, at least, I became my own person, especially like around 16, 17. So it's like if you stick with that and you're going like straight arrow into one direction, it's like to have something jolt and like change it is just shocking. It's hard to like comprehend at first.
Especially being in your 20s.
Yeah.
I'm so set in my ways of how life is working and post-college. And it was very hard for me to change. I mean, I had to change so much about my lifestyle, dramatically transitioned. And I was very scared to have carbs at all. I was lucky enough to not have to spend more than a day in the hospital because I was able to get into the doctor really quickly. And I was just so scared to touch sugar. I was so scared, like no carbs. I can't have anything like salads, protein, like fats, avocados. Like you can't have a cookie. You can't have any. You can't have cereal, and I was very afraid. I was very afraid of sugar for a long time.
Yeah.
You mentioned fear. Any other emotions? Maybe anger? Something like I said, you're working out, you're doing everything right. It's like, why me, Lord? Why did you pick me?
I'm very religious. I'm non-denominational, and I was very angry. I was very angry of why me? Why do I have to have this? Like at 22 years old, like, was it something I could have done differently? And I couldn't stop thinking about the past and if I could change it, or like, am I being punished? Like, Lord, what did I do? And I was very angry with God, and I was very angry with myself, and kind of going through a lot of different emotions. And eventually, that was actually the year that I competed for Miss Michigan for the second time. I competed 2 years prior before I moved to New York. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to still go for Miss Michigan. I mean, this is great. I can use diabetes as my platform. And I just kind of started transitioning and started learning about the disease and, what are the symptoms and the awareness of it. But it was still super new to me. And I ended up not winning Miss Michigan that year. That was for 2016. And I was like, oh my gosh, like again, like I kept feeling like I failed. I then came back and I really got my A1C down that year. I focused. I was reading a bunch and researching and getting books. And I had some people on social media reach out to me, and someone wrote a diabetic muscle and fitness guide overseas in Europe and sent me a copy of the book. And I started reading that and just kind of started creating this community of people. And I realized how many people out there had type 1 diabetes. And that was my year. That's when I knew, okay, this is my purpose, is to be able to help people and create awareness. And that is the year when I felt completely comfortable in who I was and in my disease and accepting of it, because it took me a while. So, it took me, 2 years, and I started to accept it. And that's when I ended up winning the crown, was in 2017.
I think too, with like how you said, it's because I also am non-denominational Christian. And so for me, it was like, it was almost like that was kind of a turning point for me as far as like I became a lot stronger in my faith. But I do remember the first thing was like, I was like, why? Like, why me? Because you just ask and you're like, what? Like, why did you want me to have it? And it's funny because now my mom will be like, I know, like God chose you to have it, like because you handle it and you use it to be like your purpose and vocation. But it's really interesting because like, especially at 22, like you were saying, I think like I for sure at first would be like, no, like in denial. Whereas like at 12, you kind of like you're in middle school, which is the awkward transition. So I like got lucky where it was like your parents still can steer you. So it was like I knew I was obviously going to take care of it. But it's cool when you have that moment in your head that you're like, okay, now this is what I want to do. Like, this is why I have it. This is where I want to go. And I know like Dobie, we talk about all the time because he's been really good with like healthy routine habits and lifestyle changes. And Dobie, do you want to kind of explain how old you were when you were diagnosed?
I was in my 40s, so I was an old geezer by the time I got it, type 2. And I'm a traveling comedian. And I've been to Michigan many times. And Sammy, have you ever been to Michigan?
I have.
You get a quick side trip. Because it's if you haven't, if you're listening, you haven't listened to it, your right hand, you hold it up. That's the map of Michigan. And you ask somebody from Michigan where they are. Detroit is over by the thumb. That's kind of where Detroit is.
Everyone right down there. To where they like, oh, I'm over here. Like I'm in Grand Rapids. Oh, I'm up here. I'm in UP.
Traverse City, the UP.
Where's Crystal Lake, guys?
Crystal Lake.
I don't think I know where Crystal Lake is. I had a radio job in Lansing.
I'm failing miserably, and I've been born and raised here.
It's okay. It's the only place I've been, so it's fine.
Michigan geography for 500 out.
Yeah, no, I'm the biggest loser.
No, but I'm saying it's it's been a lifestyle change for me as a type 2. Diet and exercise has pretty much turned it around, and I feel great. Type 1 is different. I'm learning by doing this podcast. And for you, how do you educate other people? Because no offense, we talk about it all the time. The public is just ignorant. They are, and that's not their fault, but they are.
What I do, I take my social media, and I've built quite a following just from working with Monster Energy for 10 years and doing Supercross and motocross and NASCAR and doing all these events and building up kind of a little bit of a fan base, and then a fan base from Miss Michigan, and just my daily life and showcasing it. And I decided to take to it and be like, you know what? I'm going to be very vulnerable. I'm going to showcase who I am on this. Yes, there's a glamorous side of traveling pictures and doing incredible things, but I like showing that I have type 1. I'm not afraid to say it or show it. And me doing that and showcasing like my Dexcom, or saying, oh, like, shoot, my sugar levels, they gave me regular Pepsi instead of diet. And oh my gosh, I'm at 350. And I'll take a screenshot and be like, hey, does anyone else don't you hate when that happens?
I just was saying I was 350 before this because I had an apple and I didn't bolus before. And I was like, and I literally was like, anybody else feeling a little higher on the little higher?
Yeah. I'll say I just can never get cereal right. No matter what, I can't, it doesn't matter what cereal it is. It's just, I always have trouble with it. But yeah, I'm very unapologetically myself when it comes to, presenting myself on social media. And that's where I really gained a lot of type 1 support, and people that were like, wow, I really love that you showcase this, or wow, you do all these amazing things, or you go on trips, or you work these events, or you've been Miss Michigan, and wow, I can do that too. It's the hope that I can give people. And I usually screenshot any message that someone sends me that's just like a really powerful, beautiful message, like, hey, my daughter, it has really been struggling. Can you write a little note for her? Or, you've really helped her kind of break that ceiling of thinking that she was very limited in what she could do and what she could accomplish. So I wrote autograph cards, or I've sent little gifts, or, I've had like an extra diabetic bag. And I was like, you know what, for someone who isn't sure about diabetes yet, is very angry about it, hey, here's a gift, make it kind of fun for someone, especially when they're younger. I'm so happy to have that community of people and be able to inspire. And when I was with Miss Michigan, I worked closely with JDRF, met a lot of amazing people. And you know what? I know you asked how do you help people? They helped me because it was my first couple years. And, I met these amazing boys, and their parents showed me the Dexcom and showed me on their phone, hey, I can see my son's levels at any time of the day. It alerts me when they're low. I can call the school. And I'm like, what is this magical equipment? How can I get my hands on it?
Glorious device.
Yeah, it is the most, it's
miraculous. It really is.
Miraculous. Absolutely miraculous. And technology is such an incredible thing. And when I found out about that, it kind of put me a little bit more at ease. Like, okay, now I don't have to prick my finger 5 times a day, and I can have something that's connected to me that's not super bulky. I don't have to worry about that. And I can still live my normal life with it on. And I learned a lot from everybody in JDRF. And I went to schools. I went to elementary schools and middle schools and talked about the symptoms. And there was a parent there that, it was like an assembly, and there was a parent there that figured out that their kid had diabetes from my seminar. So that right there was really powerful, and like an early diagnosis that maybe could have been, you never know what could have happened. It could have been fatal, that they could have ended up in the hospital and realized, wow, I didn't know those were symptoms of anything.
I was going to say, I want to throw something at you, Krista. This is our own lovely and talented Sami Parker came up with this. It's called playing the D card. And she talks about how, being a diabetic, sometimes the advantage doesn't go in our favor. But when we can play the D card and do something in a fun way, saying, oh, I have diabetes. I'm sure you've done that, but maybe you could bring that to some people that you're talking to, because we have fun with it all the time. But it's like, have you ever played the D card in your life? I'm sure you have.
So many times.
You see, this is good, because people need to be doing it.
Yeah. Especially at Cedar Point. I use my diabetic card to be able to take my purse everywhere and anywhere in the park.
That is an amusement park for you just listening around. I know what that is, but I'll make sure our listeners know that.
Yes. I love roller coasters. And I always want to carry my bag so that everybody just stuffs it full of their stuff. And they're like, let me use your bag. And they throw it and they use me. And it's okay though, because hey, I get to bring my bag and they always stop me. They always stop me at the lines. They're like, ma'am, can't have your bag. And I flash them the wristband they put on it. I'm like, I'm good to go.
I'm diabetic.
The Diabetes app is an online community platform that was created to help people living with diabetes find support and information in one spot.
And on the Diabetes app, you can join groups and connect with other people all over the world who are also living with diabetes. I mean, for me, whenever I have a bad day, I find myself scrolling through the mental wellness group, just to reassure myself that I'm not alone.
The Diabetes app has a resource section where you can find articles, recipes, tips, and tricks for managing your diabetes. Download the Diabetes app today and connect with us right on the app. It's always fun to play the D card. Sammy does it all the time, don't you, Sammy?
Oh yeah, I recently just I was in Hawaii and I went to Starbucks and I went and got one and I was going into Costco and my whole family was going. So I'm like about to walk in. He's like, oh, you can't take that in with you. And I was like, I have a Costco where I'm from and like they let me take in drinks. You can't bring it in. And I was like, well, I have diabetes and I already took insulin for it. So, and he's like, okay, well then you can wait outside and finish it. And I was so mad. And my mom was like,
whoa.
He didn't even acknowledge, but I was like so pissed off. So I like, when you like go by, I like throw the Starbucks can.
It's super aggressive.
Because I was like, he did not. I wanted to be like, do you see this D card? Yeah, that's called the diabetes card, which means you don't know what the frick you're talking about. And I'm allowed to bring my Starbucks in.
That makes me want to ask you a question. What is your Starbucks order?
All right. So I have like a couple, but my go-to every day, it's a cheat sheet basically of like how to have like a low carb one, but it's a venti iced coffee I get like extra almond milk, sugar-free vanilla, and stevia.
Amazing.
So it's like, it sounds like a lot, but I'm like, you have to realize like I'm starting at like an empty page and then I'm like writing it out. It's not like it's already like a done page and then I'm adding more,
Yeah.
It's like a basic and then I add. What's yours?
I have two. So if I'm not in the mood for coffee, I get tea. And what I'll do is actually, funny enough, the guy that I was dating wrote this down in his notes. It's such an aggressive order. So he wrote it down so he could always order it from Starbucks. So guys, pay attention, take notes. If you have a diabetes girlfriend, write down her Starbucks order because we will love you forever. But it's an iced passion fruit tea with no liquid cane sugar, so unsweetened, and then half of it with coconut milk and 2 stevias. And this is a venti.
Wait, you just named the drink that we made we called it Just My Tango.
No way.
For our like Just My Type podcast one. I like made a drink and that's what I made.
Oh my gosh. It's like the pink drink, but I don't have to take any insulin. Nothing.
With nothing. It's amazing.
It's incredible. And I am a sucker for their sweet cream cold brews. I get it just as is. I don't mess with perfection. But the shaken brown sugar, like oat milk espresso, I know I just butchered that, but I'll get that. And if you order it online, you'll see that there's 4 pumps of regular vanilla syrup in it. Mm-hmm. So then I swap it for 2 pumps of sugar-free vanilla. So there's ways. You can still have your Starbucks and be diabetic.
Dobie, like take notes right now.
How about this for an exotic drink? Water.
Yeah, Dobie.
Drink lots of water.
Yeah. No.
I'm sorry.
Like water's great. I'm just saying, it's just funny that you said that one because my dad always ordered pink drink. And I would be like, Dad, you got to try the like drink that we made for JMT. He's like, okay, well, what is it? I was like, just stop being sassy. I'll order it. So I like order it and he was like, this is freaking good. I was like, I told you.
It is good. I did have it.
Yeah, Dobie tried it. What'd you think?
I'm just not a coffee person. I was in morning radio in Michigan. Actually, Lansing's where I first started. And to get up, I'm a comedian at night. So to get up in the morning was just absolute torture. So I thought, boy, I'm not a coffee person. I tried it a couple of times to just spit it out. So I started drinking Mountain Dew. And I wonder why I'm a type 2 diabetic all these years later.
Dobie, that's so
because the
bad.
Public is ignorant. I understand that. I was 26 at the time. I just, okay, it wakes me up. It's good. It is the worst thing you can drink. But you live and you learn. That's why we have the show. That's why Krista's on her mission. I have a question for you, Krista.
Yes.
In the pageant world, what makes you want to do that? From an outsider, I'm thinking you're all gorgeous. I would love to get rejected by anyone in the pageant. That's even the 25th place woman would be cool. What in your soul? It's a competitive thing, I get. What makes you want to do that?
Well, you already said competitive. I'm a very competitive person. I didn't play a lot of sports when I was younger, but I tried everything. I tried tennis. I tried ice skating. I did dance for 10 years. So I shouldn't say that's not a sport. That's a very great sport. But I always wanted to do like soccer or basketball. And I did try basketball and I failed miserably. They put me in camp because I'm tall, I'm 5'9". And they instantly regretted that decision. They're like, yeah, no, she's got to go. The hand-eye coordination is not as good as.
Were you like Bambi?
Yeah, it wasn't great. It wasn't great. I've gotten better though. But so I'm very competitive and just with myself mostly. I'm always striving to become a better person every single day. I know that there's no such thing as being perfect, but
tell that to Sami.
Yeah.
I'm kidding. She is perfect. She's wonderful.
No, I'm not. I'm far from.
We're imperfectly perfect. That's
what my mom says.
Yeah.
That's a good t-shirt right there.
Yeah.
Elizabeth, write that down.
But you know what? I always want to you want to climb that ladder and you want to keep striving to be better. So I, was modeling at the time and lived in New York and I've done all these things. And I saw some girls in just the Michigan community that competed in pageants. I got approached by a pageant coach saying, I think that you would do really well. Well, I looked it up. I'm like, wow, it's just like a huge competition and you go out on stage in a beautiful dress and interviews. I love interviews. And, a bathing suit. I love being fit and, a Victoria's Secret moment, if you will. And
I love those myself.
Victoria's Secret moment, if you will.
Yeah, I was all about it. I always wanted to walk the Victoria's Secret runway. That was always a dream of mine. And I was like a little girl and I would just strut and do like runways down my house and like my mom's, little high heels and stuff. So I was I think like I was kind of born to be in a pageant, but I wouldn't have done it really when I was younger. It was kind of like I got to choose it. It was me, it wasn't my parents putting me into it. So I never competed in a pageant until I was like older. So, I was already in my 20s when I competed. And I think you learn a lot about yourself in your 20s. So being in a pageant, you are constantly asking yourself questions, your values, you have to have an opinion on things. So I decided to compete and I just became addicted. I met some of my best friends to this day competed in pageants. And it's just very empowering for women. The Miss Universe organization is known as being confidently beautiful. So it's being confidently beautiful, not only on the outside, but on the inside, just being completely unapologetically yourself. So I love the competition. I came back, I won on my third try. And it was just incredible. You're a spokesperson, you're an ambassador. It's not just, there's so much more to beauty, like the definition of beauty. I think there's a lot of beauty in your faults and in things that make you different and things that make you unique, and diabetes. I think that diabetes makes me beautiful. I think that, I'm able to touch so many people's lives that I normally wouldn't have been able to if I didn't compete in the pageant. So yeah, that's kind of how I got into it. And it's stuck with me ever since. I'm, even though I have passed the torch off to another person and another person after that, we already counted once, let's not do it again. But I became a pageant coach. That's kind of been
that's fun.
My purpose the last couple of years, and being able to help people again in another setting. It's my purpose to help people and to make people feel good about themselves and to, ultimately impact their lives. So I started pageant coaching in order to help other girls, win that title and get to experience what I did.
No, I think it's so great because, like you said it perfectly. People think, so I've grown up dancing my whole life. I've danced since I was 2, and now I'm a dance teacher at a studio, and I still like to take dance classes. But it's funny when I've had a variety of people that are like, isn't that just like you're just like basically want people to watch you dance? And I'm like, it's so much more than just like somebody watching me on stage in like a little outfit. It is. First off, it's like taught me so much about discipline. And then especially dealing with diabetes with it, it teaches you like to have grit and discipline with it and like how you can balance everything and be well-rounded. And it is so empowering, like you said, but it's such a unique process, like any type of beauty pageants, dancing, like any kind of, it's like an artistic expression, but like a physical activity as well. And I love it because it just includes everything. But it's, definitely something that like when I see another diabetic and I see them like dancing, I like don't know why, but it like tugs at the heartstrings. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I don't know. It's just a very special thing Dobie, I know you get down in your dance moves too, so you tug at my heartstrings.
I do the big booty remix, Krista. That's what we do.
Oh, we love Two Friends.
Yes, we taught him what the big booty remixes are. He likes them.
They're great. Play them in the summer out by the pool, and you'll get all your friends to come.
When you go on a walk, Dobie, you can play one, and it'll literally play for an hour.
I do it every day, and the girls are like me, like bees on honey. So, Chris, it's so funny that you're doing this. The confidence is a thing. I'm an entertainer, comedian my whole life. Sammy's dancer, but there are days, and even as in a pageant, you're not confident. You're having a bad day. Maybe you're having a diabetes burnout. How do you cover for that? Because people look up to us like our lives are carefree. Oh, you're a comedian. Everything must be funny in your life. Oh, you're dancing. You must be famous. You must be rich. You have no problems. How do you deal with that?
You know, there's always going to be good days and bad days. So I never want anybody to look at me and be like, wow, she's handling her life and her sugar perfect. And, you know, the truth is when I was at Miss USA and I was on stage, I got a really low sugar when we were practicing. And I had to step aside and I had to sit in the audience with some of the chaperones. And I got really emotional. And like I'm doing what I love. And I have this thing kind of sometimes controlling me, right? And I had to kind of take a step back and breathe and get through it and be like, you know what? It's temporary. It's just a moment. You know, I'm glad to have all these people around me to support me and help me and, you know, to get back up on that stage in heels and keep continuing. And I think it's just keep pushing forward. You know, I know diabetes and depression go hand in hand too. And, you know, I went through that, especially being diagnosed at 22 and my friends would just, you know, grab a drink or grab a snack. And I would actually get mad because they could just grab it and eat it without any sort of, you know, they didn't have to think about it. They didn't have to count carbs. They didn't have to take a shot. They didn't have to prick their finger. They didn't. And I found that talking about it and finding friends that have it and have type 1 that you can talk to is so important. And communities like this that just show, you know, you're not alone.
Mm-hmm.
I love to journal. I love to journal when I do make mistakes with maybe something I ate, or I just kind of get everything out in a journal if I'm angry or upset.
Yeah.
You know, I challenge everyone to journal or to seek a therapist. I fully condone therapy. I think it's so important for every single person. And especially if you're struggling with a diagnosis, you're not alone. And it helps so much to talk to people, have support groups.
100%. Yeah. I think especially too with diabetes, like you said, when you sit down, like with dance too, if I was like, I can't do any more activity, like I'm 55, like you sit down and it almost like makes me get mad because I'd like wrestle with like, oh my God, I'm being so dramatic. It's literally a blood sugar. But then I'm also like, okay, but no, because nobody else is worrying about this right now.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're all just dancing.
Yeah. I think it's really, again, how we talk about like competitive and competing with yourself and competing with your sugars and getting through it, right? You know, and dancing, okay, you have to sit down for a little bit and it's frustrating, but then you can, you know what, you get back up.
Yeah. And that's like, I remember the first time I had to sit, I was like, well, I'll just be fine. And they're like, no, you have to wait. I was like, no, it's 60. I'll wait till I get to 50. Like,
plop, plop, fizz, fizz. You
like
down.
Literally, that's how I felt, Dobie.
Krista, like to just get somebody in a light mood. I mean, Sami and I try to do that. We all say the same thing. We try to have some laughs about it.
Yeah.
You know, anything to put people in a good mood because it could be somber and dark, especially if you're alone. No, is anyone else in your family have diabetes or just you?
My dad's half sister has it.
Okay.
So that's the only, super crazy, but that's the only person in my family that has it.
Mm-hmm.
My grandma ended up getting like type 2 later down the road, which I was actually able to kind of help her.
That's nice.
With some advice. But you know what? A really great person in my life was Connor Daly, and he races IndyCar actually. So he's in kind of that extreme sports field that I was in. We basically met each other through Monster Energy, and he has been such a great friend to me and has type 1 and he works with Dexcom. He's a Dexcom warrior. I became a Dexcom warrior because of him and him getting me connected with people and having his support and seeing his sugar levels and kind of being like, you know, he was really low and I would help him or I would be really low and like, it's okay. Or I'd be really high or he'd be like, Krista, you know, you need to get that A1C in check. You know, you're a little bit of a roller coaster. it's not like reach out. I mean, I swear it's like this little community. Like anytime you see someone with a Dexcom,
I point it out.
Yeah, I point it out always.
It's funny that you bring it out, Connor. A friend of mine in Indianapolis said, I know a friend of mine who races Indy cars. I just talked about this 3 days ago. He's got our information. He's going to be a guest on our show shortly.
Well, there we go. Look at that.
It is a small community. It is a small world. So it's funny that you bring that up.
Yeah, it was great. You know, he kind of approached me, and I hope he listens to this. I'm going to have to tell him about it. But he approached me. He goes, hey, you're Krista. I follow you. You were Miss Michigan. And you have type 1 diabetes. I'm like, I am?
I am.
We can be friends. But yeah, so he's great. And I mean, he's in an Indy car going around the track over 200 miles per hour, 250 miles per hour, and has type 1 diabetes and monitors it. It just goes to show you that you control this. It doesn't control you.
He's pricking his finger in the car at 250 miles an hour. No, wouldn't that be funny?
That would be a little bit dangerous. Listen, no distracted driving. No distracted driving.
Yeah, I've gotten too good at taking a shot while driving. I'm not gonna lie.
Sammy, come on.
I hate to say this, but I've done it too.
I'm like this.
Oh my gosh.
We're going to scold you after the show. Our time has ended. Krista, thank you so much for being there. Time always goes fast when we have a good guest, and you were absolutely there.
It was so much fun. Like, so much fun. I'm so happy that you came on, and I'm sure everybody will learn a lot from you. But can you tell everybody where to find you on Instagram?
Yes, of course. Anytime too, you guys, if you want to reach out to me, my door is always open. I'll always talk with you, and interact with you and help as much as I can. It literally is part of my purpose of why I have this.
Well, you're still young. You got 49 more states. You could be Miss Ohio, Miss Indiana, Miss Wisconsin.
I wish, but unfortunately, if you compete in this system, you actually cannot compete twice.
Okay.
There's like this little saying, and I know we're trying to close, but this is a good one. You are more likely to have a son compete in the Super Bowl than you are to have a daughter compete at Miss USA. So that's like a fun fact.
Oh.
But yeah, so you can find me. It's Miss Krista Ferguson, just MS. Krista Ferguson. Someone took just Krista Ferguson, so we got to put the MS in front of it.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
She's got multiple sclerosis. I'm kidding. And diabetes. She's amazing. This woman is a miracle woman.
Find me there.
You can find Krista, Miss Krista Ferguson.
Yes. MS and, Krista Ferguson. Ferguson, just like Fergie, if that's a good way to remember it. I'm not saying to her, but I love her music. That's kind of, people call me Fergie sometimes. So if you slide in my DMs, you can say, hey, Fergie, what's up? I heard you on the podcast. You know what? God gives his toughest battles to his strongest soldiers. So we really are all in this together.
That's why I have no problems.
Well, you can find her there, and you can find us on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at JustMyTypePod _ Facebook at JustMyTypePod, and the hashtag JustMyTypePod.
Sammy, we have a question of the pod.
Question of the pod. What is one tip to be confident with diabetes?
Krista, do you have one? A tip to be confident with diabetes.
Ooh, this is a good one. Honestly, I think the confidence comes from being okay sometimes if you don't get it right. Like realizing it's okay to have a little bit of a high sugar or having a low. Like those things are just going to naturally happen. So just be confident in knowing that you are going to continuously get better at monitoring your sugar. And if you have roller coaster rides, you got to go along for the ride. It's going to get better. Always does. I'm a huge roller coaster fan. So you know how you feel when you get off that roller coaster and you're feeling really good. So the confidence in that. Also, don't be afraid to show your Dexcom. Don't be afraid to show your pump. It's okay. You don't need to hide. Because honestly, I get approached so much when I have it out and it strikes a conversation. And that there just boosts my confidence and boosts the person that I'm talking to's confidence about it. Just knowing that like you have comfort in the fact that other people are going through this too. So find confidence and just community.
Love that.
Amen. I love it too.
Everybody, please answer the question of the pod, what your best tip is to find confidence with diabetes. And Krista, again, thank you so much for coming on. We are so happy and we learned so much from you. So thank you.
Thanks, Frank.
On behalf of Krista and Sami and Queen Elizabeth, our producer back in the bowels of the internet, she's there. My name is Dobie Maxwell. Thanks for listening. I'm Sami. Put the sugar-free cherry on the healthy sundae one last time.
Say la vie, baby.
This is the Just My Type podcast.